Okay, so what I wanted to do today is to provide a little twist on things. How many of you guys play Candy Crush? Anybody? Okay, so some of you are going to get this right away, but if you don't play Candy Crush, we can also work you through some of the principles. One of the things that I do that I think a lot of women do really well is to look at ordinary things and come up with great lessons from it. So what I want to do is show you some leadership lessons that I've learned from playing Candy Crush. Now, how did I get started? I kept getting those invites on Facebook. Anybody get those all the time? And I finally said, oh my gosh, I got to get rid of these. I'm going to accept one, and got addicted to it. So if you don't know, Candy Crush is a game that you play. You can play it on your mobile device, on your computer, and one of the really cool things about it is that it really has a huge viral effect. There are about 97 million active players that play every day. Very simple rules. In fact, what you do is you try to pattern match. You have like 3 candies that match the same color, different things that you have to do like that, and you score based on those matches. There are about 500 different levels in playing Candy Crush, and there are lots of different leadership lessons that I wanted to share with you in playing this game. Does that make sense to everybody so far? Okay. So these are my 4 that I wanted to walk you through today. The first one is you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. The second one is you need to get help sometimes to get something done, and that's a lot of times by sharing your expertise. The third one is community is the tie that binds. So what Annalise has started here is a community, and we'll talk about why communities are really important and how they can help women get ahead. And then the fourth one, I have to say, I was playing Candy Crush at P.F. Chang's, and I had a fortune cookie. So this is my fortune cookie. It said, opportunities are everywhere, but few have eyes to see them. And that's another lesson from Candy Crush. So we're going to do those 4 lessons and have a little fun as we go along this morning, okay? Everybody had their coffee? Everybody smiling and ready? Okay, so here we go. So, one of the interesting things I think about Candy Crush is as you're going through this game, and whether you play it or not, one of the interesting things is that the game itself acknowledges in a positive fashion when you score, right? Anybody who plays out there, when you get 3 in a row or you get a big score, what does it come up and say? Sweet, right? It says sweet. So it's really interesting because as you're going through the game, people work really hard to get these rewards, to get this little sweet thing that comes up, to get your level, to get what's happening in the game. And I think that's really a great thing to remember as a leader, is how do you motivate your employees? How do you think about others? Are you giving them positive reinforcement? I think it's really interesting because of the viral effect of this game. If you read all the reports, the psychology reports, they will tell you that one of the top reasons people keep playing this game is because of the consistent and positive reinforcement. So one of the things I'd ask you is, how do you do that inside of your companies today? Now, one of the businesses I lead at IBM is around social media, social business. And so I wanted to show you an example, I think, of some great leadership at a company that was driven by a woman. In fact, there's a great YouTube video on this. So she's combining technology to reinforce positive actions for the employees at Honda. So everybody knows Honda. They produce cars. And one of the interesting things was they wanted to completely change their customer experience. And one of my great and favorite quotes is that you can't have great client experience or engagement without great employee engagement, right? As a leader, if you focus first on the clients, that's good, but the way you get to the client experience is from your team, right? You work through others. And so Honda figured that out, and I love this little application because it's an application on your mobile device, and instead of doing feedback to employees just in a one-on-one setting where the manager and the employee understood what was happening, they created a really little social network where they could publicly share appreciation for their employees. So on the mobile device, I could say, wow, Annalise, you did a great job on this conference. Now, not only would she know that I appreciated that, but all of you guys would know that as well because it was social. And one of the things that they found in this leadership lesson is that because it was public, because it was instant, you can see over on the right-hand side that managers that provided recognition rose from 20% who were sharing positive reinforcement to over 80%. And because of that, Honda has seen their customer engagement also go up. Again, because that positive reinforcement, catching more flies with honey than vinegar, that positive reinforcement to the employees bled into their customer experience as well. So that's leadership lesson number 1. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. How many of you downloaded Candy Crush while we're sitting here? I see a couple of you. Okay. Okay, number 2. Now this is part that that is really not a favorable thing, I think, in Candy Crush. So, and the lesson here is sometimes you have to ask for help. And I think this is really hard a lot of times for women, is asking for help, because I think a lot of times women feel that when they ask for help, they've somehow failed, or they somehow haven't been able to succeed, or if I just try a little bit harder, I can get over that hump. Well, as I was playing Candy Crush one day, if you don't make it to the next level in the game, they come up with this really nasty little message, and it says, "Do you want to give up?" Now, do you know how hard it was for me to push that stupid little pink button to say give up? Now, my other options, I could pay money, but our family rules are that you can't pay money to get to the next level. So I couldn't do that. So I had to push this little give up button. It was very, very, very hard for me. But the game provided another option. I could ask for help. This was also, I kind of paused. Do I really want people to know I need help getting through this level? Do I really want people to know you get lives? And I had to get some more lives, so I had to ask for help. And it was quite interesting because my husband was playing, and it was no problem for him to give up, ask for help, give up, ask for help. I mean, he was just rocking it, right? And I started to think about that leadership lesson there, right? That women really think they have to do it by themselves. When you really get down to it, though, any success that you've had in your life, it takes a village, right? It can't be done by yourself. It takes others. And so I thought this was a great lesson where you actually ask for help. And so I wanted to give you another example that I thought was done by a company, but by a woman in the city of Los Angeles that I think echoes this thing. Because any of these leadership lessons that you can leverage and do personally, but you can also do it for your company. So in Los Angeles, believe it or not, they recently did a study, and they found that 30% of the traffic in Los Angeles is caused by people driving around hunting for a parking spot. I was looking for the study for New York City, and I couldn't find it, but I'm sure it's the same, right? Or maybe it was that my driver this morning almost killed 3 bicyclists, I'm not sure. So asking for help. So one of the interesting applications here is this woman said, how could we have people ask for help to help for a better good of Los Angeles, which is to reduce the traffic. So she helped create this little application called Streetline. And what it does is it asks people for help. So if you're backing out of your parking spot in LA, you get on your little mobile app and you say, I'm leaving my parking spot. This spot is open. So other people can come and take that parking spot. They've actually reduced traffic so far in particular areas of LA where they're piloting this by up to 17% because people are sharing when they leave the parking spot, and they're asking for help, and people are volunteering the help as well. Again, I think a great idea driven by a woman in this particular city of Los Angeles. So one of the big leadership lessons I think for women is ask for help. Look for that place for expertise. Look for women in this room to ask for help from, and don't feel like you've failed if you ask for help. Just consider it part of the learning process as you move forward. Okay, that's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 that I also found really cool from Candy Crush is other games, and I'm a gamer. I don't know how many of you guys are gamers. In fact, one of the women I hired is she runs the world's largest women gamer community online. Lots of great stuff in gaming, but one of the interesting things in Candy Crush as well is, unlike other games, you're measured against your friend's score. So you link into Facebook, and all of your Facebook contacts see your score. As you're going through the levels, you compare to their score. So I'm not comparing to someone I don't know. I'm creating a community. I'm creating a community who are all searching for the same goal, be it Candy Crush, but we're all searching for the for that Candy Crush next level. So what they've really done here is taken this element of competitiveness and woven into it a community, and a community that, you know, that really strives and helps each other out as well, and compare yourself to that. So I think a lot of things can accomplish when you come together. This is another example that I love of a woman who decided to take community and leverage it in a work environment. This is City of Honolulu. I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but their IT department in the City of Honolulu said, look, we've got tons of data out there, but we don't have enough folks in IT to build applications that could help the citizens of Honolulu. So what can we do? Well, one of the women said, you know what, I have a lot of community experience. Let me build a community, and let me get the citizens of Honolulu together, and we'll ask them to build apps. And the CIO of Honolulu said, for free? You mean they're just going to volunteer their time? And she said, sure. She was a millennial, and millennials believe in that spirit of coming together, right, of changing the world, of building that community. And so what they did is they built this platform, technology platform, and they opened up a community. And what I find really amazing are some of the apps that have been built for free. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One is called DeBus, and it really is DeBus, I'm not saying that wrong. It's a bus schedule. It tracks buses on time in Honolulu, built for free. Another one is a tsunami warning system, built for free. Where they have special checks for the sirens, special community leaders who get together and make sure all their citizens know where to go in a tsunami. That particular app was built in such a way that Japan, who also experiences tsunamis, wants to take that app and now leverage it in Japan. And all these apps, guys, were built by a community for free. So the power of a community, I think, is outstanding. And whether that's, you know, Womensphere here, I started the Super Women's Group at IBM. We've got 38,000 women at IBM now that support each other. You know, think about that community you can build, both inside for women, but how you can apply that notion of community externally as well. Because as you know, community can help us grow our businesses as well. Okay, last one that came from my fortune cookie. Opportunities are everywhere, but few have eyes to see them. And I think this one's really important because as you're playing Candy Crush, in a particular level, you've got to get, you know, 3 colors together. But then they change. The next game, you know, you have to get a little fruit down to the bottom, or you have to kill all these little chocolate things. So they change on you. But the problem is that you get so used to matching the 3 together that when they change the rules, sometimes you get so caught up in the game that you're still matching the 3 and you actually lose the game because the game was now changed. So think about that. The game is now changed. So think about our world today. The environment is changing. The rules change all the time. And unlike Candy Crush, that they actually come up and they say, okay, in this level, your goal is not just to match the 3 candies, it's to get the fruit down or it's to get the chocolates away. In the real world, nobody stands up and says, okay, the rules are changing. So I think the best leaders are those leaders who not only anticipate the change, but make the change happen, right? Change the world as you see it today. And this is happening, you know, today with technology. There are changes, there are business model changes, there are so many changes that we as women leaders can take advantage of as long as we continue to see those opportunities. And I wanted to give you another example, which I think is really a cool example. Another woman that I work with. So if you think about it, when you guys decide to attend a concert or go to a sporting event, how many of you guys think about the stadium as a competitive advantage? You do? You think about it as a competitive advantage. Well, you know, most people don't. They think about who you're bringing, who's the singer, who's the, you know, what sporting team, are they in the playoffs, right? That's how you get people to the stadium. But she said, what if I think about this a different way, right? The rules are changing. What if I think about this differently? And so at Sun Life Stadium, she thought about different ways to make the stadium more competitive in a different way than others do. So she's leveraged a lot of technology. You can actually order food from your seat off of your mobile device. Someone will deliver it for you. Don't have to wait in line if you're a busy executive or a women leader sitting there. You actually can pre-book your parking spot. You can find out where the traffic lines are. You can find out if you do want to go down to the concession stand, when is the best time to go down. As a result, this particular stadium is one of the highest stadiums in loyalty. People come there regardless, in some cases, of who's playing or what's happening. She's changed the rules of the game to say, this is the next paradigm. I'm not going to think like everybody else has thought. I'm going to think in a different viewpoint. Okay, so those are some of my lessons learned. Number one, this reward system, and if you're having problems captivating your audience, some of the gamification, reward system, something like that can make your leadership really sparkle and really shine. The second one is, I think that the rules have changed, and becoming indispensable now is about sharing information, asking for help, not about hoarding that information, but about sharing that information. And that's something I think that women can be outstanding on. The third one is, I think that sometimes that a little bit of competitive spirit, bringing together a community to solve a problem, can really make a big difference. And then finally, last but not least, don't get yourself focused on one thing. Make sure that you're not just looking at the trees, but you're also looking at the forest as you go along. Thank you guys very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.